Hi everyone, a beautiful Monday afternoon. Just got home from work, and first time in several days we haven't been inundated with rain in the afternoon, lightning. So I got a little bit of bee work I need to do. I need to check up on some colonies, and today I'm going to take you along. I need to check on the last graft I made and see how many of them took. I haven't had a chance to do that. I couldn't do it at 48 hours. It's been 5 days since I grafted them. See how they are. Need to check a couple of colonies and see if they're queenless, and also I'm going to check in a couple of colonies and just try to gauge what kind of honey harvest I'm going to have. It's not going to be nothing like it was last year. I'm only going to harvest honey from 12 colonies this year, and that's fine. I kind of wanted a slower year. Last couple of years was pretty intense for me, but I just kind of want to gauge and see what I'm going to have. So let's get my stuff on, smoker lit, and we'll get started. All right, first off I'm going to check on my last graft. I put this graft in here 5 days ago. I was wanting to check it at 48 hours, but the weather would not allow it in my work schedule. And what this cell builder is leftover resources from when I made up to 19 mating nukes. There was a good amount of bees in here, young bees. They sat here for about 4 days because I had to go out of town. Then we got back, I went through and made sure there's no emergency cells. There was about 8 of them in there, tore all them out. And they were still about 2.5 frames of cap brood, so I felt like they might be able to make 20 or 30, so I went ahead and grafted 30 just to see what'll happen. Now I didn't put foundation in here, but I did put sugar water and pollen stuff, so I may have some comb in between whatever cells took, but we're fixing to find out. Well, they took down that whole gallon of thin syrup, and if I got a real good take, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I may not have enough resources to deal with it, so we'll see what happens. Well, it looks like I got 8 out of the 30, and that'll be just fine. I was hoping to get 15 or 20, but that obviously didn't work out. But those are pretty good looking cells, and I can deal with that right there. So I'll put that back together and come back down, and I'll definitely use that and probably split this up into 3 or 4 colonies itself. They've also taken down almost all the 1 pound of pollen sub I put on here, so it's only 8, not the take I expected, but this is also not the ideal scenario, I guess, but I'll take it. That'll be 8 more queens I did not have before. I'm going to use one of them queens to requeen this nuke right here. This is the one that's got the queen that can fit through an excluder, so I want to get her out of my operation. So this colony here, I did a video a while back. It was a swarm of bees I caught on the ground, and I identified the virgin queen. And I thought maybe there's some reason she couldn't fly, and she may have got tired or hit something or whatever, but she went ahead and got mated and was laying. So once I saw that, I went ahead and put a couple frames of brood with bees in there. And before I did that, there was only maybe a softball size amount of bees left in there. It wasn't very much, but there's definitely a lot more bees in there now. So let me make some room here and let's see how they're responding to these extra bees. So that's a pretty nice brood pattern right there. So that's going to be the edge of the brood nest pretty much. Yeah, there's some fresh nectar there. Good amount of brood there. Queen cells there, so there may be a little something wrong with that queen. Looks like they're going to go ahead and replace her. I'm just going to let that go and let them do their deed. Right there's a baby bee coming out of the cell. So yeah, they're definitely going to replace that queen. So there must have been a little something wrong with her. Pretty nice frame there. We have some pollen and stuff in the middle, a little bit of nectar, cap brood on the outside. Actually drawing a little comb right there, so a little bit of backfilling action on the edge. So all in all, it's doing okay. And that comb drawing may be for sugar water. I've been feeding some, and now this being in late June, if they do turn this queen over and make a new queen and she gets mated and all, this colony should be really good next year. I've noticed over the years that the colonies that supersede, especially in mid-June, early July, if they get mated good, make very strong colonies the following year. They make a lot of honey. So we'll see what goes on. So this one here that had the 48-hour sale, I was going to give a little more time. And what appears to be a drone layer, I was going to see if she needed a little more time. Sometimes I've seen queens start out kind of laying drones and then clean themselves up and go to making regular broods. So I want to see if there's been any improvement in that situation here. And the answer appears to be no. Got more drone brood. Evidently we got us a drone layer. So I need to get rid of this nuke. It's not going to make it, obviously. I don't want to put a queen cell or anything in there, so I just shook the bees off in front of this hive. They'll spread themselves around in here, everything will be fine. Now, there's some honey and stuff in there, and larvae. And I'm going to take that nuke out there and put it on my community feeder. And since these bees is kind of done trained to go out there for food, they'll rob them frames out pretty quickly. They'll clean all the jelly, the larvae, the honey out of them in just a few hours. So here's the last one I'm going to look in my home yard. This colony has been a cell builder a couple times. They had the queen that could fit through the queen excluder. So I took her out and they made a queen, and then they turned around and immediately superseding her. So I just, been a couple weeks or so, I just kind of want to look in here and see what's going on. Now those cells, probably if they took those cells they had in there at that time, I would be surprised if those queens would be mating. But I can also hopefully tell if they decided to keep that originally superseded queen. Check it out and see what we got. A little bit of brood appears to be the edge of the brood nest. Has some emerged bees there, but I don't see any eggs being relayed back in there. Pretty good bit of cap brood here. Pretty good bit of skips. Yeah, those cups are empty. Well, that one had an egg in it. Decent amount of bee bread on this frame and some brood. Honey around the top corners on this side of the frame. Yeah, there's some young larvae here. I'm guessing they went ahead and abandoned those cells they was making and decided to give this queen a chance, is what it looks to me like has happened here. A lot of bee bread there. Alright, for the time being I'm going to call that one queen right. We'll monitor it closely. Not impressed with that brood pattern, but maybe it'll get better. So time to move on to another yard and check a couple more hives. So right here we got 4 colonies in this yard. 3 of these are queens that I reared, and One of them is a cell that I found when I was making those splits in the mediums. I don't know which is which, but there's some orientation flight going on here, especially with that one. So, and I saw that last time I'm here, so I know the queens are rearing young bees and the colony is doing good. Now, about a week ago, I put those deeps on and started feeding them thin syrup, 1.3 parts water to 1 part sugar. And I expect that sugar water to probably be gone, so we're going to look in here and see what kind of progress they've made. If it's empty, I'll take those buckets home and refill them and bring them back tomorrow. So this is the first of the 4 colonies. They still got just a little bit of syrup left in there. So right off, I've seen most of the bees over in here, so I'm going to start off with looking there. Just barely putting anything on there. A little bit right there, so they are starting to work on it just a little bit. That one's even better. They've got a little bit of nectar in there. Now, these are brand spanking new foundations. So what you see on here is all what they've done in the last week or so. And I can tell you, I pulled the wrong frame to start with, because there's actually more and more drawn out on this side. So they're doing okay with that one. Oops, dropped that a little bit. No brood up in here yet. Sumac and mimosas coming in now, so they may be getting a lot, or getting some nectar from there. Now we have some brood right in there, and on this side as well, right in here. Some of this larva is about 3 days old. No larva there, so, and there's just a little bit on there, so they're making progress on this. I'm going to guess and say they're probably getting a combination of the syrup I put on there and some of the nectar that's coming in right now to draw these foundations. They probably still got half their gallon. Nothing there. Just a touch there. So this colony's not drawing as good as that other one. Yeah, so not doing as good as that other colony. This has about as much syrup as the first one left in the bucket. Yeah, this frame's almost entirely brood and eggs. About the same on its side. This is pretty similar to the first one, so I'm not going to pull any more. They are drawing it very similar to the other two. Eggs in this one, on that side, quite a bit of eggs. Not so many on this side. Alright, that's it for this yard. Overall, I'm pretty well pleased with these new colonies. I'm going to take some more syrup to get them deeps drawn out, but we'll get her done. Alright, on to the next yard. Alright, we're at the next yard. This is a colony that I harvested the virgins out of. Those virgins are now laying, so I haven't been back over here since that day. I want to go down here and see if they took a virgin and see if the queen is laying. And also, this will be the first colony in which I can kind of gauge what kind of honey harvest I'm going to have. First off, the bees seem to be fairly calm, so maybe that's a good indication. This frame here is probably half full, very little capping. Most of this is going to be uncapped, which is fine. I can dry that down in my drying room to make sure that the honey's plenty dry. So this one looks a little bit better. Yeah, this frame's mostly full, looks good. The super's not mostly full though, but yeah, this frame here is completely empty. So yeah, I bottom supered this when I was here that day. This super here is completely empty. This one's got a little bit in it. So they're putting a little bit of honey in here, not a lot. No brood up here so far. I'm gonna go ahead and guess and say this queen didn't make it. I don't see any sign that there's a brood down there at all. Well, no, I'm wrong. I see cap brood already. So there's some cap brood. Some more cap brood. And the next frame's about the same, so we're in good shape there. So one of those virgins did take this over. Well, I've only got 3 colonies in this yard currently. So this is the strongest one. We'll take a peek in here, see what we have. Yeah, this frame's mostly full, but it's not capped. Judging by weight, that super's probably 75% full. This one's about half full. No capping at all. Well, there's actually one small cell on that whole side that's capped. Now, I do believe they're bringing in some nectar and stuff right now. And when it comes time to harvest it, I'm not going to be concerned at all about it not being capped because we're past the main nectar flow. And this will make this honey easier to dry down with the dehumidifier and fans in the warming room I have. I've extracted a lot of supers each year that was not capped without any issue. Now, if this was a situation in mid to late May, obviously I would be deeply concerned because there'd be so much nectar in here. But this time of the year, no, should not have very much trouble at all. That super's probably half full. This one's probably going to be 85% full, and I do see some cappings on this one. Very little though. I bottom supered these when I put the excluder on, but that is some beautiful honey. So I'm probably going to get 2.5 mediums off of this one. All right, we'll go to my magic yard and check a couple over there. Well, we're over here at the magic yard, and I'm going to admit it's going to be tough not to look in these 3-frame mating nukes in the Apamay colonies. It's not quite time. I need to give them to this weekend, but it's kind of like being a kid and in the fall and the winter and waking up and going in there and seeing them presents under the Christmas tree, and you wonder what's in the boxes. So, but I'm going to tough it out, hard as it is. We're going to look at a couple of these boxes, and them taller ones down there, they didn't actually make that much. I brought some mediums up here from another yard a while back and put on there because they was pretty strong. And I think I did that one as well. It's not going to be that strong, but we're looking at a couple of these shorter ones and see what we can gauge. But thus far, from what I've seen in the other yard, it's kind of looking like a 2 super colony balance. So we get set up and we'll see what we got. Well, I got a little of it, but that bumblebee thought he's going to sneak in that entrance. And that reduced entrance right there and all those bees out there, he didn't stand a chance, so they run him right off. This is actually one of the nukes I'd overwintered. So this top super is fairly full, but I did, when I put the excluder on, I did bottom super. Well, it's not super full. This is about 60% full. That frame right there is. That super is going to be 60 to 70% full. So these supers underneath were, I bottom supered these. So these was empty when I put on in late April. So that frame there is pretty much empty. So we'll be lucky to get 2 off of this one. So right here's something a little abnormal going on where I've got this super slid back. At first glance from a distance it kind of looks like, you know, they may be working up here, and I'm thinking, well, I may need to check for a queen. If it wasn't for that I wouldn't even looking this high, but I'm gonna do an inspection because we may have a little bit of a robbing situation here. There may be something going on with this hive, and based on what I'll see, I'll probably close that gap up or something until harvest. But that's not something I normally see right there. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at. I don't know if they're actually trying to rob it, but the way those bees are acting there, it looks like they're trying to fend off robbers. But we're going to check that out here in a minute. Well, the bottom's super, but there's one that's fully capped as I've seen. I'd already decided I'm going to use my Pearson capping knives. I haven't used those in 4 or 5 years to get more cappings, but it don't look like I'm going to get many cappings anyway. Now, that super there's pretty full. That frame's pretty much empty. Just a few cells with honey. This is about 40% full on one side and 10% full on the other side. Now, that super's probably not 15% full. I basically got too many supers on this. So this is encouraging. This is the bottom 2 supers, and they filled both of them up and capped it. So I will get some cappings here. So I'm probably going to wind up getting a total of 3 off of this one. They're roaring pretty good. I probably need to go down there and check them. There's not a lot of bees in here. This may be queenless. So yeah, this colony's queenless. And I'm pretty much lucky I've caught it right here where I can salvage all the combs. So what I'm going to do is spread these supers around and take this hive home. So it's a loss. So these shorter colonies here, there's 2 of them there. 2 right there. I'll put 1 on each one. I'll put 1 super on each one of those, and then one of them's going to get 2. But that's the way I'm going to handle this. And I'm going to pick this up, put it in the back of the truck and carry it home, and put it beside the nuke down there and let the bees rob that out as well. And I'll use these combs elsewhere, probably on those 8 queens I got, something of that nature. But all right, I'll go ahead and get this took care of. All right, I got them spread out. You see those 3 hives I grew taller. I just went ahead and put them on those 3 hives. 6 supers. I added 2 more on them. They're only going to be on there maybe a week or 2 more. I may give them a little bit more time since they seem to be getting a little bit of honey, but that's what it looks like after it's done. Right here's the queenless colony. I've got it loaded up here in the bed of the truck. So I'm glad I went down into it and looked. I noticed that strange activity as I shown you earlier. That was a red flag for me. You may be wondering why I don't just shake the bees out here like I did with that nuke. And the answer is, and I don't know if it really matters or not, but I'm not going to chance it. I've got the 19 mating nukes up here. So I don't want to introduce all these older bees up here that might take up with those nukes. I don't know what would happen. So I'm going to take them home and just shake them out there. Put them on the community feeder, let the bees there clean them out. So all in all, the honey harvest is going to be about like I thought, maybe a little worse. So, and I'm not complaining. I wanted a slow year this year, and I got my wish. Unfortunately, a lot of other beekeepers in the area, they're probably going to have a slow year too. I didn't wish that on them. It is what Mother Nature's give us, so we'll take her and roll. But in my estimation, I'm probably going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 supers. Time you put all the partials and all together. Not going to be a lot of cappings either. That's pretty surprising. So that kind of wraps up what I've done today, just kind of checking some hives and all. I thought I'd bring you along, kind of show you that here in the middle of June. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to join me for this video today, and we'll catch you next time.